Good afternoon, Richard. How are you? Hello, everyone.
Hello, my beloved people. Hey, yo. Welcome to our crazy show.
Cray,
It's not crazy enough for you, then add some sass. Okay. Add some MSG or Celtic salt, whatever have you. Have your drink, and let's begin.
or some pepper.
And drink
chili.
some wine while you're at it. Like, I wish I had wine, to be honest.
You know what? I just poured myself a drink, an alcoholic drink.
Naughty.
So I am drink driving the podcast, not a car. I'm not getting in a car.
Like the wine that we had at home, I do not know how old it is, but I bet it tastes terrible, so I'm not going to drink it. Nah.
I was
cheese wine or something.
I was about to say how amazing the podcast is Spotify is, because we can just easily record within their program. But I was just reading a thing saying that in June of this year, they're moving the recording and editing tools. They basically won't be available in there anymore, and they're using Riverside. So I'll have to click on that and learn more shortly. So this episode, let's talk about book reviews first.
Okay, book reviews.
Yeah, what books have you read recently? Because I know you're a big bookworm. You love reading.
Recently, I just read a book that was published last year by Dolores Cannon. It is called as, I think it's called as The Horn of the Goddess. But the thing is that book was, in a sense, published posthumous or post-mortem, however you're going to call it. The thing is that the author, Dolores Cannon, has passed away, I think, 2012 or something. So the daughter or the company where she kind of like invented the Ozark Mountain Publishing, I think it's the daughter, decided to publish some of her articles. Like, okay, for those who do not know who Dolores Cannon is, basically Dolores Cannon is one of the pioneer of past life regression. Like, remember that we talked about past life regression like 1 or 2 episodes ago?
Yeah.
So I was like thinking like, okay, this book is quite interesting, because one thing about Dolores is that she is a past life regressionist. She's been studying it, doing it for the last 50 or 60 or so years of her life, ever since 1950 until 2012 or 13. I do not remember when she passed away. But okay, from what I've known from this story, and basically the daughter kind of like searched the archive of her past. It's like this book, The Horn of the Goddess, basically like Dolores wanted to publish it, but at that time, like I think around 1980s or 1990s, because she was not popular yet, and then the New Age community or the past life thing is not yet popular. She doesn't want to be criticized a lot, because let's face it, the early 1970s or the early 1980s, this kind of topic are not there yet. So basically, one thing I like about this book is that if you are a follower of Dolores Cannon work, it's like it feels a bit jarring, because this book, well, how do you call this?
What's the title? What's the title of the book again, in case somebody kind of jumps?
The Horn of the Goddess.
The Horn of the Goddess.
Okay, The Horn of the Goddess. Basically, what Dolores did, she do past life regression of her clients, and her clients kind of like provide certain information from different eras. And then the reason why I want to mention about the Horn of the Goddess book, it's because of the witchcraft inside of it.
Yeah.
And one thing that is interesting to me is that the personality or the past life of this person, particular client, this past life name was called as Estelle. I think she was in the year 1600 or 1700, around that timeline. And then when I read her chapter, it is so interesting to me is that what people did back then, who is the follower of the goddess, who practiced witchcraft, some of the ideas or some of the practice are still similar to what we had right now. Like, for example, using salt to cleanse and banish, using the pentagram, or using like a certain color to do some kind of spells. Of course, right now we have kind of like an adaptation or evolution of that certain spell. But the thing for me, it's like, okay, the thing that our ancestor did like 1600 or 1700 years ago, we are still using it today. See, like even as simple as casting or visualizing a certain color, they use it and we also use it, and it still works for like hundreds and hundreds of years.
It's very interesting, actually. Yeah, and it's very, very interesting too, because all those people were volunteers. They volunteered to let her practice her hypnotizing, which is a big thing. I mean, that's pretty brave of them, irregardless of who she was or what she meant to them. It's a pretty brave act, because if someone's just looking to sort of hone or practice or whatever, you just don't know where that's going to go, really.
Exactly. And then one chapter that I kind of like feel sorry for this particular patient, because it's like she was her timeline, the 1700, the Inquisition was still there, and then she was killed by a crazy Inquisition. So can I go with the story, like how she was killed?
Yeah, you can, but do you want to give away too much though?
No, not really. It's like, for me, it's like, how do you call this? Like giving a data to like, okay, there's always this question inside of me. So I know that during the time of the Inquisition, the Christian church or those crazy or the crazy Christian people at that time, it's like do those witch hunts.
By the way, sorry to cut you off, but did you say that she did this back in 1980 something?
Yes.
But she didn't publish it until 2023.
Yes, correct.
Interesting.
The one who did that book was her daughter, because that book was the book or manuscript was lying around somewhere in her office or
got you.
And then, so the daughter is like, okay.
It's just it's interesting to me though that she never released it, but I'm glad that the daughter did. It's just interesting she hadn't got around to releasing it for whatever reason. Maybe it wasn't finished or something. It's a lot of pages though.
Sorry, what?
It's a lot of pages though. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was probably finished. Like it should have been finished. I was just correcting myself. I love the cover picture.
Exactly. And it's very witchcraft based kind of thing. She never did this kind of thing. The thing is that she did past life regression with people who have experience with Jesus, Nostradamus, all of those wonderful Atlantean time. But this one is like specifically focused on that timeline where witchcraft is quite, not to say popular, it's like I haven't finished reading the book yet, but I'm almost done. Like the end part is all about a minstrel or something, like a singer, songwriter. But the one that I finished first was the witchcraft part, which was very interesting to me. So, okay, so going back. So I always had this thought, like, why does there are some crazy people who are involved in the Inquisition? So according to Estelle, it's because some of those crazy people, in our modern term, we will either call it as narcissists or a psycho, how do you call it? Like crazy people who take pleasure in hurting other people. Those kind of sick people.
Yeah, another thought. I'm just trying to look
I'm
something
sorry.
up. So I was just gonna say to you. Sorry, I wasn't being rude. I was just looking something up. Do you? What the fuck is this? So I'm just trying to do something. Do you recall any of the actual spells? Did it speak about any spells in it, or just witchcraft in general?
The spell that she taught, like how to make someone fall in love with you, and how to kind of like, okay, the spell that I remember is that, okay, she casts a love spell on her lover by like in her mind's eye, which is our third eye, like visualize a pentagram. Give me a second. Excuse me. Oh, sneezy.
Bless
She
you.
visualized a pink color pentagram on the face of her lover to attract this person towards her. That's her love spell. And then if she wants confuse...
What was it? A pentagram?
Okay. A pentagram. Like the pentagram, the one that I'm wearing right now.
Yeah, I know what a pentagram is.
Yeah. The symbol of the pentagram.
What's a pentagram, Richard?
What's a pentagram? A star and a circle. It's a star and a circle. So basically, Estelle taught to Dolores in that past life regression, saying that if you want to make someone to fall in love with you, or at least like have good thoughts, or basically like have some kind of like romantic nice feeling, visualize a pink color pentagram on their face or on their body, something like that. But if you want to confuse someone, because on that same page she also say that since I do not like this one woman, I visualize a black color pentagram on her face so that she will be confused. She will always say something that is nonsense, basically like that. I was like, oh, that's quite smart.
Yeah.
And then I do remember about she's talking about certain symbols, like those astrological symbols.
Yeah.
And some other symbol as well that I forgot. But basically it's like similar. In the year 1700 until now, it's almost similar. And even the traditional horn god symbol, which is the moon and then the crescent moon on the top, was used during that time as well. So there's a lot of like tidbits. She doesn't say, oh, this is the spell for this is the spell for that. But basically in the past life regression, it's like she's telling about her life. And then like, oh, in this case, I did this so-and-so spell. And then Dolores asks, oh, what kind of spell did you do? So in a sense that to us today, it is considered as simple spell because we do use like herbs or candles or oils or what have you. But the thing is that what is interesting to me is that those simple ideas still survive 300, 400 years in the future, in our timeline.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting.
Or the reason why Dolores didn't publish that material, because that material was recorded in the year 1980s.
Yeah.
Because at that time, she was still inside the quote-unquote closet or something. And then she is in the community where there's a lot of Christians. So she doesn't want to offend anyone. I mean, like, it was the 1980s and people are that kind of polite. I mean, nowadays, the year 2000 onward or 2010, people pretty much have more respect for witchcraft or pagan community. So that's why I think it's a good choice that the daughter kind of like published this book out. It's like, basically this is the reason why she didn't publish it earlier on, because she doesn't want to offend anyone in her area.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I really like that anyway. What got any new cards or anything recently?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course, I'm a card hoarder. So basically,
card hoarder. I like that.
I love 14 cards. The one that I had on my table, basically the Light Worker Oracle card, the Pleiadian Wisdom Oracle card, the Lakshmi Oracle card, the Goddess Oracle card, yada, 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 everything and anything. And the one that I like the most at this time moment is Manifesting with the Fairies Oracle. So basically, this deck is to help you to manifest the life or the certain spell or the certain thing that you want or the goals that you want, kind of thing. So yeah, at this time moment of the time of this recording, I kind of like still collecting some of the funds for me to buy certain, how I call it, divinatory texts, which is the I Ching, the Manjushri Buddha Oracle text, and there's another one, Elemental Dice Divination. I haven't had the book yet, but once I had the book, I will tell the viewers or the listener about it if anyone is interested. I mean, I've been like eyeing on that particular version of the I Ching Oracle by Verveine for years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds good. Thanks for that, by the way.
Mm-hmm. So much information.
Now I'm going to try and process it all. You've made me want to read that book, actually. I have seen it about, but I've never felt the need to read it. But now that you've kind of described it in such a way, it does make me want to read it. And of course, you know that I'm a card hoarder as well. So so I don't have those ones, but they look like ones, of course, that I get.
Point of the Goddess book, because compared to her other book, this one is an easy read because it's like a story. Yeah. Like you reading someone's life or biography. Some of her other books is like a little bit complicated because she delved into like a certain technical aspect of spirituality, past life, the spirit world, the Akashic records, and so on and so forth. So some people may be like, what the fuck is she talking about? But this book is like basically like a compilation of someone's story. So it's
do you mean in the sense, does it come off a little bit airy fairy, or do you mean in the sense of she talks a lot of technical stuff, you know, when you said what the fuck is she talking about?
It's more like a technical stuff where when she contacts spirit or the higher self, however you're gonna call it, she asks why so and so is so and so. Basically, they kind of like for example, the nature of time. Since past, present, future is very subjective, and actually every time it's happened simultaneously. Because when I will give you an example. When she when Dolores Cannon contact Nostradamus, Nostradamus emphasized that you are not talking to a dead person, but you are talking to me on life, basically. Like the thing is that the way she contact Nostradamus is through her client, through past life regression. The reason why it is plausible is because that particular client has a past life with Nostradamus, so there's a link. And then Nostradamus in the ether or the spirit realm kind of like meet in between, kind of like that. Does it make sense? And then when Dolores asks, are you dead or are you a spirit? And then he says, no, I'm not a spirit. I'm still living in France in the year so-and-so. It's like I'm still living and breathing, and I know I'm talking to someone.
So she's talking. So she's talking about other planes and dimensions and shit, which can get very confusing. Which some people will say is a load of shit. But each to their own, and whatever works at the end of the day.
Exactly. The thing is that I've been reading the Dolores Cannon material ever since I was in high school. Yeah. Like roughly 16, 17, or 18 years old. I don't remember. Yeah. All I remember is that when I first read it, all I say to myself is like, this is a lot of bull. I don't understand it. Yeah. But over the year, after I learned other things from other spiritual system or other ideas, and then I read her material back, it makes sense.
Well,
so basically, you have to Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry. I was just going to
So
agree
basically,
with you.
Mhm.
What's going on there,
So
Richard?
basically, we kind of like have to let it simmer and read it again somewhere in the future, and then you kind of like understand it again after your
Yeah.
mind has been open to a certain
That's exactly right. Yeah.
ideals or something.
Yeah, you've got to be
Yeah.
open-minded. I use myself for example. When I was younger, I
Mhm.
used to think the whole past life thing was an absolute load of shit. I wanted to believe it, but I think what made me skeptical about it was I kept coming across all these airy-fairy type people. And for me, that's an instant put off because those are the ones that come across like wannabes or, you know, they're scammers or whatever. And look, I had a few experiences and seen a few things myself, so I wasn't a complete skeptic, but I just kind of came to the conclusion that it was just this airy fairy shit that spiritual people went on about, you know, and I just pushed it aside. But one day I just decided to have a look because I knew there was some truth in it. I thought, you know, I'm just going to have a little look-see myself. I was only really young. And I thought I'll just have a little look-see myself, and I realised there was some truth in it. I'm just very sceptical about the people who are delivering it and where they're getting it from, I suppose. Because anyone could say any bullshit, and you're never going to know if it's true. That being said, that being said, I think that you would kind of know deep down yourself if it was correct for yourself. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a big believer in that we are drawn to whatever we've gotten ourselves genetically, ancestrally. So, for example, you know, you might be drawn to Ireland or something like that, but never been there, never seen the place, no one you know has ever been, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then if you went and tested your DNA, suddenly, you've got Irish in you. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I'm a really true believer you get drawn to what you are. So I think primarily you would know anyway. Plus, if you're getting a reading, I guess a past life reading done with someone who knows what they're doing, you're going to be more likely to believe it anyway.
Exactly. For me, the way how I logicalize this, yes, being skeptic is healthy, but there is like a level of skepticism that is healthy. Like an extreme skeptic is called as a cynic, where everything and anything is like, no, if this doesn't fit my system, I'm just going to throw it out. That's actually not a healthy skepticism. And healthy skepticism saying that I will not believe this until I found proof. And for me, like, okay, if you do a past life reading and then you do not know about this reader, there is a potentiality that this person could make things up unless you really know that.
100%.
Yes, correct. I mean, like, that's human nature. Like, anyone can say anything unless you know that this reader or the psychic is really psychic and genuine. Then it's a whole different story. So the way how I how do you call this, logicalize it, like, how about go to a past life regression, like a hypnotherapy? Because the one that provide those information is you yourself. It's not the
100%.
reader, it's not the therapist. Because at the end of the day, if you want to logicalize it, you can say that, oh, this is my past life, or it could be like something that my mind conjure up in order for me to understand certain knowledge or wisdom or how do you call this? Experience, so to speak. So basically, it's like there is some kind of validity. And then one thing that I like about Dolores is that, remember that I told you that she's been doing past life regression ever since the year 1950 until 2000 something. So basically, she collects a lot of data from a lot of different people, all walks of life, who doesn't know each other. But when they talk about the same, let's say, the area, the timeline, or that, like, for example, let's use Atlantis, all right? It's like anyone can say about anything. But the thing is, the good thing about her is that her clients doesn't know each other. But how come all of these clients who had past life in Atlantis know about certain specific thing, which is similar? So there is a validity.
Unless, of course, each of them has become possessed by the same demon and the demon's just spouting the same bullshit.
Exactly. And now, talking about past life, right? I'm so interested. Like, maybe this is one of a program that we can do somewhere in the future when I need you. Like, how about I do you a past life regression and we will record it out?
Yeah.
We'll post it like Luan and Rachel past life regression on YouTube or something.
Do you know what? Let's do that. Let's do that like really soon. Okay. I really want to do that. I like it. Okay, so we're running out of
past life regression kind of thing.
We're running out of time, by the way. We've got 5 minutes left. So I just want to thank you very much for all that, Richard, by the way. That was really enjoyable. I liked it. I just wanted to run a quick couple of things through before we finish today. And one is that there is definitely a new Bewitchy magazine coming out. I know it's been a long time coming and we keep saying it's coming. But obviously, you know, with such a huge brand like that we've got going on and all the different elements of it, you know, things kind of got to easily get pushed to the side in this industry. So it's definitely coming. So it's packed full of like a bunch of goodies as well. So I guess essentially this one will just be, you know, like one that's going to come out through pretty quickly, but we're kind of working on restructuring it as well and redesigning it so that it's a bit more, I guess, professional looking and also a bit more uniform so you know exactly where you need to go as you would in any magazine. We don't want it to be like, we want it to be uniform and the same. We don't want it to be completely different all the time. So in the next one, we've got an interview with a couple of different people. Obviously the usual editor's notes and all that sort of stuff. We've snitched a few poems and stuff from a couple of our members in the main group. We've got a Witchercise article, and a Witchercise is an exercise article for witches or anyone really that wants to do it. A little bit of, information about health in general. So, signs about dehydration, expendable habits, all that sort of stuff. We've got a self-care checklist. We've got some pretty pictures, some Bewitchy Academy. We've got a competition. We've got like a flip book, I suppose, like some of our new witchy clothing that's just come out. We have an obituary in there for Rachel Pollack, actually. You like them, don't you?
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, Rachel Pollack passed away last year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Even managed to publish her book, but the thing is that she passed away, I think like a week or a month before her new book was published.
Yeah, which really sucks. Yeah, it really sucks that. Then we've got some tarot tips and a stack of other things, some cooking and a bunch of other things we're going to chuck in there too before it's done. So we were aiming for this month, but it makes more sense to bring it out in April because April is the anniversary of Rachel's passing. So that's what we're going to do. So there's a lot of work goes into these magazines, and just a reminder too, if anyone wants to advertise, we do have some free advertising in the magazine. The rest of it is paid, but it's very reasonable. So get your ads in there because people are reading the magazines. It's very well known. Even to the point where sometimes people don't even know it's us. I know that might sound a bit strange, but we get people walk into the shop and they say, "Oh, you own Bewitchy magazine. I follow that, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So that's definitely coming out soon. And what else have we got? We've got some new products too, actually. What were you going to say?
What I'm going to say is that whatever money that Bewitchy get from advertising, always know that it's going to grow Bewitchy magazine or Bewitchy as a company itself. So every money that people decided to support, it's like the more that you support Bewitchy, the bigger and the better we will get.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know this too, but if you pay for the advertising in the magazine, we also advertise for you for free on our social medias, and all up, I think we've got well over 100,000 people, which doesn't seem like a lot in the bigger scheme of things in comparison to some people's, but it's still a reasonable audience. And that doesn't even include, email lists and stuff like that. So you get a lot of freebies and a lot of exposure. I mean, I don't even mind name dropping people in these podcasts. So we will definitely support you if you support us, and vice versa. And you're right, it's kind of silly not to advertise in it.